welcome to our 21-22 Meet the Teacher Night, Curriculum Night. I want to thank you for tuning in and watching this and being a part of your kids' education. So I usually like to start off tonight telling people a little bit about myself. My name is Andy Valash. I am the principal of Berkeley High School, and this is my 16th year at Berkeley High School, and I taught math for 8 years. I was the assistant principal for 4 years, and now this is going into my 4th year as principal of the high school. And so just a little bit more about me as well. Those pictures on there are my two little ones, Oliver and Lucy. Oliver is in 3rd grade this year, and Lucy is in kindergarten. And my wife and I, a number of years ago, before we had kids, decided to move to the district. I'd been working here already, but we wanted to raise our kids here and have them go through Berkeley schools. And I like to point that out just because I'm very invested in this place, in this district, in this community. I love this place. This place is my home. It's the only place I've ever been, and it's really the only place I really want to be. So I've also got my contact information on there. If you ever need support, need help, have a question, feel free to reach out to me by phone. You can leave me a voicemail. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Sometimes email may be a little bit quicker if you send me an email, and I can get an answer back to you as quickly as I can. To start off, I'd like to introduce my team. So Evelyn Coleman is our new assistant principal. She's going to be overseeing students with last names A through K. Carolyn Krieger is our other assistant principal. She oversees students with last names L through Z. I've got a great counseling team. Miss Sloan oversees students with last names A through D. Miss Weiss oversees students with last names E through K. Miss Drinkard is our new hire. She's overseeing students with last names L through R. And Miss Ty oversees students with last names S through Z. And we are super excited to have a new counseling position this year. Miss Belsky slid over from her alphabet to take over the college and career counseling piece. And we're really hoping that this position can help parents and students navigate that kind of tough world of college and career, which we know starts 9th grade year with EDPs and figuring out what you want to do, and culminates in your senior year when you're applying to colleges and thinking about what you want to do after Berkeley High School. But these are some of the greatest people I've ever worked with. We have a very, very strong team, and we're always here to help you out if you need any support for you or your kid. I'd like to start things off by sharing an article that I read a few weeks back that really kind of resonated with me, not just as a principal and an educator, but it also really resonated with me as a parent of 2 kids who have been going through this pandemic schooling as well. So the article was 5 ways parents eased up during the pandemic and how it helped everyone. And they kind of separated into these 5 bullet points of things that just made me think about my own kids, Berkeley High School students, and what are some things we can continue to do going forward that will help them be more successful later on. So first one centered around technology. And, as a parent, my wife and I, we always struggle with what's the right amount of technology for our kids. We don't want them to be left behind where they don't know how to operate things, but we also don't want them spending all their time on technology. We want them outside. We want them reading books. But something we kind of learned throughout the pandemic was that we have to embrace that technology because it's such a skill for kids moving forward. And I think something we saw last year was just a great increase in kids' technological skills, which I know is going to benefit them far after they leave Berkeley High School. Independence is another thing. I think as parents, we begrudgingly maybe had to allow kids to be a little more independent last year just because we're also living through a pandemic in our personal and professional lives. And so, we had to have our kids do more than maybe they used to be able to do. And I think if you're like me, what you found out is they're way more than capable of doing those things. So I think giving them that little bit of leeway and independence is going to serve them well down the road. Risk-taking is another thing that, we did have to take some risks during the pandemic, and I know your kids did as well. Like, for example, I know there were some kids who took a chance and took their first ever AP class or honors class, and it was really difficult and they worked really hard, but it was really rewarding in the end, and they feel really good about that. And I think taking those risks is what we want kids to do. They're controlled risks, they're healthy risks in a controlled environment. Balance is something I struggle with all the time. I'm sure all of you struggle with that as well, and just trying to find that healthy balance between school and work and home. And so I think it was just really important for all of us to make that time for family, to make time for special things with one another, and also to make time for ourselves to keep us balanced in everything we do. And then also the importance of self-expression. I think we saw a lot in our kids last year, that self-expression coming out through art or a paper they wrote, or maybe an assignment or project they did, or some of the hobbies they took interest in. So I think it's really important to keep encouraging kids to find those ways to express themselves and find themselves and figure out what their passions are. So these 5 things are just things I hope all of us can keep in mind going forward. I think they are things that help for student wellness and our own wellness in our home, and I hope they're helpful tips for you as well. Another thing I'd love to touch base on is this idea of learning loss. And I'm sure it's something you've heard either on the news, maybe you've read it, maybe you've heard people talking about it. And, I'm not buying it. Thinking about my own kids, thinking about your kids here, yes, absolutely, I agree that as much curriculum that was covered 3 years ago was not covered last year. I'll fully admit that, and just with the timing of classes and the pandemic, that is 100% true. But in terms of learning loss, I don't believe the kids experienced a learning loss last year. When I look at what kids went through and some of the skills they developed, the non-academic growth we saw in kids was unbelievable last year. Their flexibility and adaptability to all these unknown situations. I think about all the times we changed course last year and kids rolled with it and were good with it. I think about the compassion kids showed for one another, for their teachers, for their parents, for everyone who was just going through hardships last year. We really kind of rallied around one another. Our resilience was just incredible last year. When I think about all the stuff we went through last year and we made it through smiling and laughing and happy at the end, that was something to be celebrated. There was just so much growth mindset in everyone that, maybe I don't know this now, this is really difficult, but if I keep working at something, I can accomplish it. And we did see those kids accomplish those things by the end of the year. They persevered through a really, really tough year. There were so many times that we were just set back and things were so difficult, and they put their heads down and they plowed through it and they worked hard and persevered through it. Like I mentioned earlier, their tech skills were just through the roof last year in terms of improvement, and I think those things are going to serve us well as we move forward. And then just the collaboration piece, I think we found different ways of collaborating, and I'm looking forward to building upon that in the future years. And so for me, as a parent, as an educator, as a principal, I just think these non-academic things are so important to kids. And yes, they may not have learned this specific math topic on this specific day, but all these other things I mentioned, these are applicable to everything after Berkeley High School as well, to college, to career, to life. These are just skills that apply everywhere, and they're very hard things to teach, and I just feel like our kids did a masterful job working on these skills and learning these skills over the past few years. So I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of this idea of learning loss. I just feel like our kids learned more in this past year than they've ever learned, and I'm so excited for what that means for us going forward. With those ideas in mind, I just have one final thought or question to leave all of you with, and it's this idea of what are kids capable of if we just let them? And so where this kind of hit me last year was a couple times, and I know I'm talking a lot about my kids today, but I feel like I really learned a lot from them, and I learned a lot as a parent and educator through them. And so the first example was early in the semester last year. My kids were working on their virtual schooling somewhere else. My wife and I had to work, and someone was helping them kind of oversee it. And I'm at work, and I get this email from Oliver asking if I can help get him the link to Lucy's live special class. And so very quickly, I found the link. I was able to paste it into an email and send it back to him, and he was able to get his sister onto her class. And the more I thought about it afterwards, I'm thinking, man, my second grader just had a problem, figured out a solution to that problem, and then helped someone solve it. And I think if it wasn't for pandemic times, he never would have been put in that situation where he would have been able to problem solve in that way. And so I was really proud of him for thinking differently, and I was also silently scolding myself for not believing he could do something like that, and not even really having it be on my radar that he could do something like that. The other example is with our kids walking to school. So yes, we only live a couple blocks from our school, but you know, they were 7 and 5 years old, and I think we never would have sent them to school to walk to school by themselves. But you know, there were just times when my wife and I had to work and we couldn't walk the kids to school. So we gave them directions, we told them what we needed them to do, we gave them emergency situations, and we sent them on their way. And lo and behold, they were perfectly fine. They were responsible. They did exactly what we wanted them to do. And on many days, we had to send them up to school to walk to school and from school by themselves as a 7 and a 5-year-old. But I'm just so proud of them and embarrassed of myself that I didn't think my kids were capable of those things. And so as we think about Berkeley High School students, like, I just want everyone to wonder, like, what are our kids capable of that maybe we hold them back from sometimes? And so I hope this gives us permission to give them leeway to take those chances and to take some risks and make some mistakes, but learn from those mistakes and fix those mistakes. Because really, I think what we're trying to do at the end of the day is we're trying to create self-sufficient, happy adults that know how to take care of their own business. And that's one of the things we're always going to work on at Berkeley High School. To watch your kids' curriculum videos tonight, you're going to first log into Schoology. And then you're going to go to each of your kids' 6 classes and click on the Teacher and Class Resources folder. Within that folder, there is either going to be another folder or file that has a curriculum night video in it. And each of those videos is like a less than 10-minute video just telling you a little bit about the class, some of the things your kid's going to learn this year, maybe some of the big projects they're going to work on, and how they're going to get help if they're struggling in the class, some teacher contact information. So I'd really love it for you to go in and watch those 6 videos, learn a little bit about each of your kids' classes, and obviously if you have any follow-up questions or something wasn't covered in the video, you're always welcome to reach out to those teachers and ask a question. I want to thank you again for watching this video, for watching those teachers' videos later on. Really, our success is deeply intertwined with the work you're doing at home with your kids and the support they're giving us and them as they come to school each day. So again, our deepest thanks. Truly, we appreciate you. Your kids are in very good hands. The Berkeley High School staff is one of the finest groups of people I've ever worked with and known in my life. I think your kids are going to have a really, really great year. Go Bears.